She asks her mother to save her, so the lady grabs the bird and crushes it. Then the parents go to their cellar, which is located under a black pyramid. Here they check on a mysterious sarcophagus, which is so heavy that the father has to use a chain mechanism to open it. Inside there's a mummy, and the mother comes closer to see if it's awake. Suddenly the mummy moves and the candles go out. The couple quickly lights the candles again and the mother says that the mummy isn't awake. However, the mummy snaps out of its bindings and the chains move to attack the father, stabbing him in the jaw to lift him and kill him. The lid falls back on the sarcophagus, and now the mummy is pounding on it. Sometime later in Cairo, Charlie and his pregnant wife Larissa hear their kids yelling. They rush outside and find them fighting, so they quickly separate them and learn that Sebastian threw Katie's doll over the balcony, so it broke. Larissa has to leave for work, so Charlie fixes the doll with some tape and promises to take it to a proper shop later. Katie is still mad because Sebastian wasn't scolded for this, so she feels like her parents have a favorite. After arguing with her father, Katie goes to play in the garden. Suddenly she sees a figure behind the fence and thinks it's her friend Layla, but the woman introduces herself as Layla's mother. She does a simple trick with flowers and offers some of Katie's favorite candy. Katie gets nervous and says she should go back, so Layla's mother gives her a nectarine from her own garden. At the same time, Charlie gets a call telling him he got a new job in the USA. When he turns around, he notices something strange on Katie's dollhouse. Charlie opens the door and finds lots of candy wrappers, yet neither he nor Larissa has given their kids any candy. He goes to ask Sebastian where the wrappers come from, and Sebastian says Katie only shared the candy with him if he promised not to tell their parents. When Charlie demands the truth, Sebastian tells him that Katie has a friend who visits her in the garden. When Katie grabs the nectarine, Layla's mother apologizes and begins to whisper a spell. The nectarine cracks and a bug comes out to quickly enter Katie's mouth, so she collapses because she can't breathe. By the time Charlie comes to the garden, Katie is gone and there's a hole in the fence. A desperate Charlie rushes to the street and asks his neighbors if they've seen Katie. As an alarm announces a sandstorm, he sees a woman with a child at the end of the street. He immediately starts chasing them and manages to keep up for a few blocks, but the sandstorm and the people panicking over it cause him to lose sight of them. At the police station, Detective Delia talks to Larissa and Charlie, who tell her that Katie is missing and show her the wrappers. Dahlia's boss tells her to first check the family in case they killed her, and Charlie understands enough words to freak out at the implication. 8 years later, the family is living in New Mexico, yet they still keep a room ready for Katie. Their new child is a healthy daughter called Maud, and Larissa's Catholic mother Carmen lives with them too. Since Katie disappeared, they haven't gone on vacations. In the Eastern Desert of Egypt, a boy is working on his bicycle while behind him a plane crashes. Hearing the noise, he goes to investigate and finds the wreckage in the woods. The pilot is dead on the ground and there's an eye nearby. When the boy looks up, he finds the co-pilot impaled on a tree. He runs away in horror, only to trip and fall right in front of the mysterious sarcophagus. Later, researchers are frustrated because their team wasn't able to look inside the sarcophagus with any machine. They decide to open it anyway, admitting they never saw this model before. Inside they find a mummy, so they start removing the linen and notice some runes on it. The mummy's hand has long nails but the flesh is still fresh. When they remove some linen from the face, they're shocked to see a young girl. As they take pictures, the mummy wakes up with black eyes and a bug emerging from her mouth. She starts screaming as she squirms in the sarcophagus. In New Mexico, Charlie and Larissa get a call from the U.S. Embassy in Egypt, who inform them that Katie has been found alive. The couple immediately flies to Cairo, where a doctor warns them that Katie has gone through lots of trauma and malnutrition. She's locked in a deep catatonic state, so she may show some strange behavior. All sudden movements and loud noises must be avoided, which is why they're keeping her sedated. When the parents finally enter the room, they see that Katie is a bit deformed now. As they talk gently to her, they notice some scratches. The doctor explains that she kept clawing when they admitted her. Larissa listens to her heartbeat and the doctor confirms that physically she's still strong. Katie moves an arm so both parents can hold a hand, but she also starts having an anxiety attack. The parents go outside to give her space and Larissa has a breakdown. Afterward, Delia shows them pictures of the sarcophagus, which is around 3,000 years old. Katie was being transported on the plane that crashed, and Delia believes she was a victim of human trafficking because sarcophagi are a common method to hide people and illegal artifacts in Egypt. The next day the parents bring Katie home, and her siblings are a bit freaked out to see her. After the wheelchair is clumsily dragged up the stairs, Katie is put to bed. Maud is finally brave enough to introduce herself, yet Sebastian refuses to acknowledge her. Carmen prays for her granddaughter and kisses her forehead, but Katie suddenly sits up to headbutt her. Then her body arches as she floats above the bed, only for her back to crack before she collapses. When her body starts squirming again, Charlie holds her down so Larissa can sedate her. That night, Charlie looks at the pictures of the sarcophagus and the linen to search for answers. Larissa is sitting with Katie, showing her old family pictures while talking about their old life. However, Katie just falls on her pillow. When Charlie checks on his wife, he finds Larissa asleep on the child's bed but no Katie in sight. They desperately go looking for her. At the same time, Maud is awakened by some weird noises. She wakes Sebastian up and he worries when he hears the thumping noises too. Suddenly something appears to be moving inside the wall and Sebastian grabs a bat, but his parents arrive before he can act. Larissa opens a hatch in the wall and is startled by something running by. She moves inside and sees Katie hiding behind some boxes, but the girl runs when she hears her. A chase ensues and Charlie follows them on the other side by hearing the noises. At the next hatch he enters the wall too, only to bump into Larissa. When a scorpion appears on the wall, Katie's hand reaches to grab it and proceeds to eat it. The siblings hear all the commotion, so they go to Katie's room just in time to see her come out of the wall and her parents struggling to keep her still. Larissa reaches inside Katie's mouth to pull out the scorpion, causing her to puke all over the carpet. The next day Charlie tries to take the kids to school and finds the gate blocked by coyotes. He has to honk the horn several times before they let them pass. At school, Charlie asks Maud not to tell anyone about Katie yet. Sebastian wants to know what really happened to his sister, but Charlie admits he doesn't know. At home, Carmen brushes Katie's hair, which keeps falling, while Larissa cuts her nails. When she hears a strange noise, Larissa notices that the toenails reappear in Katie's mouth. Meanwhile, Charlie installs a lock on the hatch in Katie's room. At that moment he notices a bloodstain under the carpet. He becomes horrified when he lifts the carpet and finds a nasty goo that is damaging the wood. When Larissa tries to cut Katie's last nail, it's so hard that she has to apply extra strength. This causes her to pull the nail and rip off a large piece of skin. Suddenly Charlie hears Carmen calling for him, so he rushes to the bathroom, only to find both women on the floor and no Katie. A noise makes him notice that Katie is running down the stairs. He immediately follows her and almost trips over some fallen fire pokers near some bloodstains. On the wall, there's a bloody handprint. Charlie opens the door and discovers Katie painfully using a fire poker, as if this could get rid of her foot. Minutes later Katie is sedated in bed again and Larissa bandages her foot. Charlie thinks they should send her to a specialized facility, but Larissa refuses to lose her again. An argument ensues in the corridor and Charlie realizes that Larissa blames her for Katie's disappearance, but he points out that she hadn't known about the candy friend either. Larissa is hurt by this and slams the door in his face. In the bedroom, a crying Larissa asks Katie to speak and gets so frustrated that she shakes her a bit. Katie responds by spitting on her. In the bathroom, Charlie finds the piece of Katie's skin and notices some weird marks. On his desk, he separates the layers until he sees runes matching the linen. The next day Charlie visits an archaeology professor and shows him pictures of the runes. The professor explains that this is written in hieratic, the first cursive script of ancient Egypt. Charlie begs him to translate it. That night, Charlie holds Katie's hand and apologizes as he cries on top of her. Suddenly he hears a weird sound and realizes that the strange jaw clicking is Katie communicating with Morse code. He quickly writes it all down in a notebook. Then he rushes to find Katie's old Girl Scout things, which include a Morse code guide. When he translates the message, it repeatedly says the word Layla. Charlie calls Delia to tell her about this. Delia asks him if there's someone among the family's friends with that name, or if someone like that ever contacted them. This inspires him to check a chest full of old letters, where he finds a card with a candy drawing signed by Layla. Meanwhile, Maud comes out of the bathroom and hears a song coming from Katie's room. She wonders if that voice is her sister's and Katie confirms she can talk, but she asks Maud to keep the secret for now. Suddenly Katie appears behind the door and tries to lick Maud's feet, causing her to run away. However, Katie whispers some dark magic to make Maud freeze. Then Maud's body starts floating and she has trouble breathing. As the lights start flickering, Maud crashes into the door. In the morning Delia receives the card from Charlie and checks the system, but finds several Laylas with the surname on the message. With the help of a colleague, she discovers that the only post office that could have sent the card is in the middle of the desert in Aswan, close to the place of the plane crash. The only other thing there is a nectarine farm, which doesn't make sense to be in a desert. Delia checks the pictures of Katie's disappearance and notices the nectarine on the ground. In the meantime, Charlie meets with the professor, who confirms that the strange text is hieratic and was inked on ceremonial bindings. The word Nasmaranian is repeated several times, so the professor plays a tape of an international lecture on ancient Egyptian demonology. Nasmaranian is an ancient demon who destroys families, traveling from person to spread cruelty. The only way to defeat it is the words on the bindings, which are wrapped around the possessed person to keep the demon trapped. At school, Maud insults the teacher. At the same time at home, Katie smiles because she's controlling her sister. In Aswan, Delia finds the farm but nobody comes when she knocks. She decides to break in through the back door and search every room. Eventually she finds a pyramid and a chain that indicates the location of the cellar. She goes down and finds the contraption where the sarcophagus used to be. When she returns to the house, she tries to use her phone but there's no signal. At that moment she notices the front door is open. There's someone in the next room, so Delia pulls out her gun and announces she's the police, causing the figure to run. Suddenly Layla's mother comes out and tries to attack her with a knife, so Delia shoots her down. Then Delia tries to ask her about Katie, but she's distracted by Layla appearing at the door. Layla immediately runs and Delia follows her until she corners her on the edge of a cliff. Since Layla won't stop digging, Delia shoots at the sky to make her stop. Layla responds by showing her a box she just dug out. When Delia opens it, she finds a tape labeled Katie. Meanwhile Larissa tries to fill the tub, but the water starts coming out black. She has to run to the basement to turn the entire system off and she hears a weird noise in the pipes. She also notices the cards and finds Layla's. At the same time Charlie picks up the kids and during the ride home, Maud keeps repeating the insults. Charlie asks Sebastian not to tell his mom what happened. In Katie's bedroom, Carmen keeps praying. Suddenly Katie bites her hand and tackles her. After Katie says she can stop her heart, Carmen pushes her off and tries to escape, but Katie closes the door. When Carmen turns around, Katie is gone and the wheelchair is moving. Then Katie appears behind her and knocks her down, making her lose her teeth. Carmen grabs her crucifix and prays again, but Katie laughs and makes a rosary choke her grandmother. She tells her it's fun to be dead before throwing her through the window. Charlie and the kids arrive and notice that the coyotes are gone. At that moment Carmen lands on the car, cracking the glass. Maud laughs and Charlie tries to help Carmen, but a coyote appears at the window. When Larissa enters Katie's room, she finds the girl sleeping in bed. Then she looks outside and discovers that the coyotes are eating Carmen. At the police station, Delia plays the tape. Layla's mother appears saying that an innocent child is best because the body lasts longer, but any human will do. The video then shows the ancient language and the woman going through a strange ritual. Delia asks Layla what the meaning of the tape is and shakes her when she doesn't answer. Layla opens her mouth to reveal that her tongue was chopped off. Dali asks if her mother did it and Layla nods. With some difficulty, Layla explains that she tried to tell the truth once and she was punished. She also says that Katie wasn't supposed to be outside the sarcophagus. Her brothers had to move her because the valley will be flooded soon, but it was never moved before. When Delia asks for more details, Layla writes everything down. After reading it, Delia tries to call Charlie but he won't answer. During Carmen's funeral, Maud pulls until her tooth falls off. Charlie sits in front of Katie's locked door, but Sebastian comes to tell him that his mom needs him. Then Charlie checks on Larissa, who finally wants to send Katie away too. Meanwhile Sebastian guards Katie's door and hears her talk. She uses a sweet voice to say she wants to join the party, so Sebastian runs to hide in his room and puts on his headphones. However, Katie's voice still appears in his mind, asking him if he remembers the doll he threw because that's what inspired her to throw Grandma. She blames him for Carmen's death and laughs. In the kitchen Maud finishes losing all her teeth. On the ceiling there's a spot that matches the bloodstain in Katie's room, and soon this spot breaks to let Katie through. Then Maud goes to Carmen's coffin and pulls a thread from her mouth until it opens. When she smiles at her parents, she's wearing Carmen's teeth. A man accidentally bumps into her, so Maud tackles him and wildly bites his neck. While the adults pull her away, Katie crawls on the ceiling until she's above the coffin and jumps into it to bite Carmen's neck just as wildly. Larissa sees the coffin shaking and runs to try to pull Katie out, only for the stand to break. The bodies roll out and Maud snaps out of her craze while Katie licks the blood spilling out of Carmen's wound. After the funeral is over, Katie is tied to the wheelchair and her window is sealed. Charlie sits in the room with her to guard her. This doesn't stop Katie's power from repeatedly bashing Sebastian's head on his bed. Larissa is currently packing and Maud keeps insulting, saying she's a bad mother. As the wheelchair starts floating, someone rings the bell. It's Delia, who has brought the tape and proceeds to translate everything that Layla's mother says. She explains that with time every containment they make wears out, so they have to prepare a new one to keep the demon trapped. Since her family got this curse, there have been 82 mummification rituals. She's recorded this video so future generations can keep repeating the process. The recording then shows Katie held above the sarcophagus with the previous mummy as Layla's mother starts chanting the spell. The mummy wakes up and spits some black liquid into Katie's mouth. The group then wraps her up in the enchanted linen and locks her up in the sarcophagus. Delia points out the demon was supposed to stay buried, but now it's on the loose. At the same time, Katie makes Sebastian come for her, so he breaks the hatch to enter her room. He then helps her remove all the skin, revealing her raw flesh. While a desperate Larissa runs to rescue her daughter, Delia hears a noise, unaware that Carmen has left her coffin. She rushes upstairs and tries to help Larissa open the door while a sandstorm surrounds the house. In the living room, Charlie is still staring at the TV in shock. He turns when he hears a noise and finds Carmen eating the funeral food. Carmen makes a naughty offer, but Charlie runs off because he hears Larissa yelling for help. The women almost open the door, but they're pushed back by Katie's power. Afterward, the door opens on its own and they see Katie floating in full demon mode. She tackles Charlie and manages to bite a bit of skin off before the others pull her back. Katie pushes Delia in return, causing her to hit her head and fall down the stairs. After headbutting her mother, Katie swallows Charlie's skin and headbutts him a few times too. Larissa wants to help him, but Katie closes the door to lock her up with Sebastian. The boy hits Larissa with a bat, so she grabs a fallen sedative and runs to hide in the wall, thus he chases after her. When Sebastian is distracted, Larissa injects him by surprise to knock him out. Downstairs, Delia wakes up when Carmen steps on her neck. Carmen spits out a scorpion that falls into Dalia's mouth before letting her go. Delia quickly moves and kicks Carmen, getting her head stuck in the railing. At that moment, the scorpion's tail pierces through her neck, but Delia reaches into her throat to pull it out. At the same time, Katie tries to choke Charlie, so he pushes her off. He crawls away and reunites with Delia on the stairs, so he asks her to remember the words as they run to hide in the bedroom. When Katie jumps on her father again, Charlie holds her while Delia starts chanting the spell, although she has to cover the hole in her throat with her hand. Since Katie keeps freaking out and scratching, Charlie throws her on the floor. At that moment, Larissa enters the room, so Charlie apologizes to her before Katie spits all the dark liquid into his mouth to finish the transfer of the demon. Both of them collapse holding hands. When Katie wakes up, she calls Larissa Mom in her normal voice. Sometime later, Charlie has been sealed in a coffin in the basement. A normal-looking Katie knocks on it using Morse code and Charlie answers the same way to say that he loves his family. Meanwhile, Layla's mother is revealed to be alive in a hospital. One afternoon, she's visited by Larissa, who injects her with a sedative. Then Delia brings Charlie in a wheelchair and they start the ritual to pass the demon to her. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.